Just a couple days ago, I was kibitzing with a congregant after the service, and we went over by the plaques right over there that we place every week that mention the yard sites. And he told me he was remembering a brother that passed far too young. And he told me this story that's been on my mind really in the days leading up to this very moment. He said his brother was a clock aficionado. Love those big grandfather clocks. You know what I'm talking about, right? And so that was something that meant a lot to him. He loved it very deeply, those clocks. And so this particular congregant in his home has one of those big clocks that belonged to his brother. And every day, every morning, he says he gets up and he winds that clock, and that's his brother time. But it's not only that, he tells me. He's now gone out and he's bought 25 more clocks just like it. And so the whole house is dinging and hooting and ticking, and it's driving everybody mashuggas. They're going crazy. Dad, enough with the clocks. The noise. Just can't think straight. But he says to me, it's the most soothing sound in the world. It reminds me of my brother, what he loved. It reminds me that time passes, and so too loved ones pass. But even still, the house is alive with the sounds of those clocks. The house is alive with the sounds of the passing of time. And in that way, he is too. He is too. We can't fight time. The passing of time, we can't stop it. We try hard to, because it goes so darn fast. We take pictures to try to catch it. I have 3,000 pictures on my phone. You might have more, but we can't grab it. Catching on to time, it's like trying to grab hold of water. It just slips through. It's what the rabbis of old called chalom ne'uf, that life, the whole of life, is a dream that flies away, that slips away from us. The clock that keeps ticking and ticking, we can't stop it. But as Jews, we know that we have a power. We know the one thing that we are able to do, though we can't stop time, though it can't be controlled. As Jews, we know what it means to cherish it, to appreciate it, to infuse the moments we're given with meaning and holiness, if only we can be present for it, present for those we love as time just marches on. We have a time-based religion. 6 days of creation that culminate in the Sabbath, every single holiday that marks the rhythms of our year, every ritual, every inclination in Jewish thinking and Jewish life, all the blessings that we say, they're all about hitting the pause button to stop, and appreciate a young one in services, to appreciate the moments we're given before an action is taken. Other faiths, it's different. You see those big, beautiful churches when you go through the city? Other faiths build elaborate structures and ornate structures, those incredible facades. They're beautiful. But we don't have that. We build what one rabbi called, instead, palaces in time. Maybe because we were a people in exile. Maybe because we were constantly on the move. We couldn't stop in one place for very long and build something incredible like that. So instead, what did we realize? Maybe time and the ones we're with, that's all we really have. So much of the Jewish genius is about stopping to cherish what's intangible. You know, my family and friends, where I grew up down in Fort Myers Beach, they learned that lesson this last week. The first days of 5783, anything but sweet for my family, for so many, reminded in this difficult time when our hearts are heavy because there has been loss of life, reminded that all the things we collect in life, everything we accumulate, an entire life of tchotchkes washed away in an instant before you know it. At the start of a year, my mom called me in a panic after Rosh Hashanah. What about my pictures? What about Grandma's china? What about all the memories? What if the flooding just ruins it all? And I had to say to her, Mom, you're safe. And we'll make new memories. Thank God you're safe. Thank God we'll have the gift of making new memories, of saying together one day, very soon, Shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu. Thank you, God, for the gift of life and the gift of time that we're able to just be together. If this holiday is anything, Yom Kippur, it is a full-day course in the passing of time, in the sanctity of each moment. It's a reflection, I hope, on our very mortality. We wear all white, the clergy. These shawls symbolize in Jewish thinking what we'll wear on the day that we pass from this earth. We don't eat, we don't drink, we don't have relations with our partners. We detach ourselves from the world of the living, not to be morbid, but we do it because of the lesson we learn from exactly that. It's a lesson that says to us on Yom Kippur, if you took a breath just now, did you take a breath? That could be the very last breath you take. And so therefore, you need to appreciate that breath, that moment, more than we ever realize, more than we ever give ourselves permission to realize. It's on this day that we face the mystery of the year to come, the mystery of time. How much time will be given? We say in the central prayers of Unatana Tokef, Mi yichiyeh u'mi yamut, who will live and who will die. It's a stark prayer. It's a stark reminder, but infinitely important for us to hear. We accept the truth of that reality, that time passes and that people do too. That some are given the blessing of many, many years and others leave from this earth still with a song left to sing. And that fact is challenging, but we let it touch our hearts, and ideally we learn from it. Ideally, we emerge into the year more fully human because of it, knowing what psychologists all tell us, because they interview people who have had near-death experiences and then come back. And you know what they say? Every single one of them, it seems, the most valuable lessons of all. Don't miss a moment. Don't miss an opportunity to say, I'm sorry. Don't miss an opportunity to appreciate what you're normally way too busy to stop and notice. Don't miss that opportunity, if you have it, to say, I love you. So much of life is so beautiful to miss. We shouldn't miss it. A storm could come and wash it all away at any second. I know that. I don't have to tell you, though, what you already know about life in 2022. We are more busy, more distracted. Our ability to be present for one another, our ability to be present in this very moment, oh yeah, it's shrinking. Connected virtually and less connected to life. Plugged in, but tuned out. 5 screens, 45 tabs open, and I can Keep tabs on every single one, but give me 30 seconds sitting with another human being without my phone in front of me to distract me, and it's awkward. God forbid, a minute. Especially the younger ones in the crowd. It's a trial beyond measure. I got to remind you of this pizza place on the West Coast. I'll find the article. They have a challenge. Lock your phone in a locker before lunch begins. If you make it through the whole lunch without running to that locker and grabbing your phone, you get a free lunch. You know how many free lunches they give out? Not a lot. Not as many as you would hope. The grandfather clock that counts the moments of our lives keeps on ticking, but are we too busy to appreciate each of them? Twitter has a 280 character limit, because if I can't get the message in 280 characters, I don't want it. Who has time for more than that? In a culture of fast cars, fast food, and long to-do lists and multitasking, we race against time rather than settling into time. Anybody here ever on vacation and you start making plans for your next vacation? We do that. You ever having a conversation with someone you care about, and they're talking and you're only thinking about what I'm going to say next? We race against time rather than settling into it. I do that. Our brains are trained to fight against this moment. It's why that Shehechianu prayer, thank you, God, for the gift of life, the gift of a breath, the gift of this moment. We reserve it for special occasions as Jews. We really shouldn't. We really should live with Shehechianu awareness. If you did that, can't promise it would add days to your life. But what I could promise is that it would add a fullness and a depth and a meaning to every day you're given. I have to tell you, one of the great privileges of my life as a rabbi, I love the B'nai Mitzvah. I love the baby namings. There's our most recent one. But it's the way that I'm able to be in a small part of the story of the lives of those who are in mourning. Part of the story of the lives of those who are facing the end of life or with people just after a loss. For me, it's a great blessing. I've learned more from it, more than I could have ever learned in 5 years of rabbinical school, and more than certainly I could ever learn from any book. And if there's a common theme that I hear from everyone, from all of you, don't get so busy that you miss the things that can't be bought or sold or added to a resume. Don't get so busy that you forget to let the ones you love know just how much you love them. Don't get so distracted that you miss the ones who will stand by your side, God willing, and hold your hand when your day comes. There's a psychiatrist who suggested one thing that almost everyone in the world could put, an inscription that you could add to 99% of the headstones in the world. You know what it would say? I should have loved them more. Well, I could. And that's true. I know it's not so simple. I know that there are distances that get placed between us and those we love, distances we can't control, family members who live far away, and yeah, FaceTime is good, but it's not everything, and that's hard. Anybody who's dealt with the distance of a loved one who's struggling with Alzheimer's dementia, which is so many of us, know the pain of that distance, that you can be sitting so close to someone you've loved for your entire life, and even still that closeness that we felt through life, it's just not in the same way there, except in brief moments, and that distance we can't control. But there is distance too we can control. I got to tell you, how many families talk to me more than you would realize about the distance that we impose on ourselves when we hold grudges. When we hold a grudge for a month or a year or a decade or a lifetime, when a family member holds a grudge and so there's distance for so long that nobody even remembers why it's there. But we do that. And it's sad that people have to ask themselves at the end of a life, I held that anger? I held that frustration over what? The days turned into weeks, turned into years, turned into a lifetime in some cases that could have been flowering of a beautiful relationship, and instead it wasn't. You know, we sing through the high holidays one song that always strikes me. If I tear up at any moment in the high holidays, it's this one. Hayom, 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 hayom. Today, today, today. Because when it comes to what really matters in life, when it comes to the things that matter most, hayom, today, is what we have. Tomorrow, who really knows? It's a beautiful poem. Norma Marek writes, if I knew it would be the last time that I would see you walk out the door, I would give you a hug and a kiss and call you back for just one more. If I knew it would be the last time I could spare an extra minute or two to stop and say I love you, instead of assuming you would know I do. For surely there's always tomorrow to make up for an oversight, and we always get a chance to make everything right. But just in case I might be wrong, and today is all I get, I'd like to say how much I love you, and I hope we never forget. Hayom, hayom. Today is the most important day to stop and recognize and appreciate and say, I love you, to turn toward those you love, to lay aside the resentments if you have them, and to be close. It's a day of Yizkor, a time for wishing for more time, a time for yearning for another day, for another tomorrow, another chance to say I love you to those we miss today. We think about the passing of time and the clock. We think back on those we loved and the ways that they sacrificed time to be with us, the sports and the games and the vacations and the trips that they wouldn't miss, that they couldn't miss to be with us. We think on when they weren't there for us, when they were just too busy, when the words that they spoke or the actions they took were wrong, and we try to forgive them today because they were only human after all. Though death places a distance, we yearn to feel close, to know that their deeds and their words and their light are sown into the story of our lives, and so too the story of life itself. In just a moment, we'll come to the prayers of Yizkor. The words of the Kaddish, rhythmically, ticking by like the ticking of a clock, reminding us of the preciousness of the moments we've shared with those we love the most. We'd give anything to sing Hayom with them today, to ask them the questions we still have to ask, to know how proud they might be of what we're doing, of what the kids are doing and the grandkids are doing, to watch the game together. We miss them. Whether a year has passed or a decade or 5 decades, we miss them. And so we give of our time today to stay close to them, to hold them in our hearts, to let their lives and their legacies and their wisdom remind us how to live, inspire us to live well, to live deeply, and to live with their light in our hearts. Hayom, today. Now, we grasp the preciousness of life, and Hayom, now at Yizkor, we cherish and we lift up the lives of those who made us who we are. Let's rise for Yizkor.